welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. And we have our guest who's on the phone. Can you hear us out there, sir?
Yes. What evil lurks in the hearts and minds of men? Only the shadow knows for sure.
There you go. Hey, we finally got you back. So, of course. Yeah. And who are you, sir, so our viewers know?
Yeah, this is Chip. It's Chip.
There you go. And I'm CJ with our guest host.
I'm Patrick.
So we always have a great time. So let's get right to it today. The firefighter contract. They've approved the contract, and they ratified a 3-year contract with the city on Monday night. Jason Burns, who's the president of the IAFF Local 1314, said, for the first time, the city has agreed to pay firefighters for their turnout gear or personal protective equipment, calling it a notable term of the agreement. Up front, it costs our firefighters $2,500 to $2,700, and with new technology, that amount goes up. That's big for us that the city agreed. It's major. Like other unions working for the city, the firefighters have been working on an expired contract since June 30th of 2015. The 3-year contract covers July 1, 2016 to June 30th, 2019 with no raise for the first year, 2% in the second and third years. Now, the issue that I have, and according to Jason Burns, he says these increases are reflective of the city's current situation. They also agreed to an initiative that new recruits would earn EMT basic certification within 1 year as a condition of their employment after the city was awarded a $2.6 million SAFER grant. City paramedics signed a 3-year contract in late December that included that certified firefighters could work on rescue units. The major shift that's been a long time coming, said Burns. The step should have been taken back in '83. Here's the issue I have with this, and I mean, it's not a major issue, and Chip, you can talk about it a little more, but these contracts in the past have always included clothing allowances like turnout gear, and that was rolled into their retirement contributions. Am I right?
Yeah, the clothing allowance. The only thing that the Fall River Fire Department issued a new hire was a helmet. You were responsible to buy all your other gear, your turnout gear, your dress uniform, your work uniform, and that was all part of the clothing allowance, obviously. And there have been a lot of changes in the required gear over the years, and the cost has gone up a lot. But the clothing allowance was fairly decent, and the thing is that turnout gear does last. It's not like it only lasts a year or two. It lasts a little while, and so I don't know what to say. I don't know if they reduced the overall clothing allowance by paying for their gear, and because I know in the old days, if we had an incident where something out of the ordinary happened, let's say there was there was a corrosive material
right.
that ruined someone's turnout gear, the city would pick up the tab for replacement of that because it was an extraordinary, not a normal wear and tear situation. So I really, it's hard for me to comment on what's going on right now. All I can tell you is that in the past, the clothing allowance basically was there to deal with everything because you had to buy your work uniforms, your dress uniforms, and your turnout gear. You had to buy everything. The only thing you got for free from the Fall River Fire Department was a helmet, and they took that back when you left.
Well, my question though, Chip, is this money that was some time ago, was well after you were president, I believe. The city started rolling in those stipends and those clothing allowances into their retirement contributions, which I believe those were removed by PERAC under the regulations. So I've requested from the city a copy of the contract so I can review it to see if they've reduced their salary by that $2,500 to $2,700 clothing allowance. And if not, then what does that mean?
Well, yeah, well, it's a valid point, CJ, because you see, what happened was when I was the president, it was different. You things like clothing allowances and longevity payments. If you put in the language that it was also to be counted toward your in your retirement, it was acceptable. But then PERAC changed its interpretations and basically said these things are not, there's a whole bunch of PERAC rulings that said these things are not basically part of your, i.e., regular base salary, therefore they're not part of your, your retirement, and you couldn't get it. And what happened then was that departments, not only Fall River, but throughout the state, began to roll those things in and call them base pay.
Right.
And so they could remain in the retirement equation. And to my knowledge, that's the way it still is now. They're rolled in. Everything's rolled in, so it is accountable in your retirement. So now with this new addition, I'm not sure what really this is one you got to take I'd have to take a close look at the language and stuff, and because I know that as a retirement board member, anytime something new is added to a contract, we normally get PERAC to review to see if it is in fact part of the retirement.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see. Once I get that contract, I'll definitely get it over to you. And welcome back, by the way, Chip. I wish I had gone out to your house yesterday to set up the video. Chip will be on our show via video next show, one way or the other. If I have to, create a rubber wire.
I think I broke the camera. That's
Well, in case anyone missed it, we talked a little bit about the pay raises that the House and the Senate, 40% pay raises, $35,000 pay raises to the House and the Senate, to elected officials. And Senator Mike Rodrigues turned around and said, oh, well, nobody brought that up on our South Coast tour, and it hasn't come up at all in
any of the
statements from citizens. And I'm like, okay, that's nice to know. Well, the Mass GOP, being the Mass GOP who they are, sent out a press release yesterday. Senate adds one more leadership post with a $35,000 stipend. And remember, that $35,000 is a stipend. I'm going to go through this briefly, but I'm going to get right to the gist of what happened here. There are 34 Democrats in the 40-seat Senate, and they are all expected to hold one or more leadership or committee chair assignments. Every one of those positions is $35,000 stipend. The assistant whips will receive $35,000 stipend on top of their base pay of $62,547. A Rosenberg spokesman confirmed Tuesday assistant leaders receive the same amount, which can increase from $15,000 under the pay raise law. The president pro tem will receive a $50,000 stipend, with the majority and minority leaders receiving $60,000 stipends. Now, Governor Baker vetoed this. Now, interestingly enough, two local senators, Senator Mark Montigny, who chairs a temporary rules committee, offered the order amending the rule that deals with leadership and committee appointees. Oh, there you go. Take care of yourself. To allow for two assistant majority whips. And then, of course, Senator Michael Rodrigues, who's never met a stipend he didn't like, of Westport, served as the assistant majority whip for most of last year, when Senator Mike Donnelly had previously held the post and moved up because the majority whip after Anthony Petroselli resigned. So there's another 35. Now the Senate does allow, which I thought was also very interesting under their rules, they can collect up to 3 stipends for 3 leadership roles.
So let me get this straight now. So their rule is anytime they can give themselves money, they do it. Is that the rule I'm following?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you know what I'd like to tell all our delegation both representative and senatorial, is it's disgraceful because guess what? $35,000 is more than the household income average in the city of Fall River.
Yeah, well, the thing is that...
Don't you feel just a little bit guilty?
Well,
Don't you feel, then you get your gas mileage and you get your other stipends. And isn't it amazing how all these politicians have got a new word now, stipend.
Yeah,
Not
you know,
a payroll.
we do that in Fall River, too.
And that's exactly right. And that's the thing. The key is that, you know, they're shameless. And Senator Roberts said we didn't hear anything during our tour.
No.
So I bother talking because you know what the Senator has done in our delegation? They've told every single voter in Fall River that, look, this is, again, showing you how stupid you really are. Because we just got through an election, and everybody thought we weren't getting a pay raise. We told the governor and you, screw you, we're not going to lower your taxes. We're not going to do it. We're going to give ourselves massive pay raises, only a few months after an election. And guess what? We don't pay us because by the next election, you'll forget and re-elect us all.
Right. Well, here's the thing. Every member of the Fall River delegation, Alan Sylvia, Paul Schmidt, Carol Fiola, and Senator Michael Rodriguez voted for these pay raises. In the Senate, they can get up to 3. So if you're the chairman of a committee, there's 1. If you're chairman of a second committee, there's 2. If you're an assistant somewhere, there's 3. That's $105,000 on top of everything. But the House only can get it once. So, you know what that is? I'm going to tell you. Here it is.
Screw you, taxpayer!
Yeah, well, it's more than that. It's screw you till you die, taxpayer.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this just gets to be worse and worse. And, you know, we don't have anything to really do except go to the ballot box, which all of you people who are afraid to vote against your guy because he gave you a chicken sandwich or a turkey sandwich or a chow mein sandwich, and you think he's a wonderful person, and they throw $125 a ticket fundraisers, even when it's not an election year for them, because they want to gouge you for more money. You're being robbed every time. If you cannot go into that box and say with good conscience, I'm voting for this incumbent because he's done everything for me, and you vote for them, you shouldn't have the right to vote. I don't know. Patrick, you've been sitting there quiet, and that's unlike you.
Well, you know, I mean, I know Patrick's got to weigh in, but I'll tell you one thing. To me, what is really, really disturbing is that how these people can drive to Boston every day from a city that has the lowest income in the state, where people barely make $30,000 or $35,000 in a household, and turn around and use every kind of shenanigan to give themselves even more. You're not making enough. You're not making enough with your Mike. I believe Michael Rodriguez is third in the state for sucking up stipends.
And per diem money.
Per diem money.
You can't lose that per diem.
Look, if there's a per diem or a stipend that's alive, Michael Rodriguez is first in line. And do we see any relief in Fall River or the South Coast?
Well, don't forget,
no.
Chip, don't forget, they also run unopposed.
Yeah, and it's like, look, there's absolutely no regard for the people of Massachusetts, and I'll remind all the voters that we voted to reduce the sales tax.
You know,
Our state representatives said, screw you, taxpayer, we're not reducing anything, because all they know how to do is spend money. And when you give this kind of raise, I mean, it's an obscenity. I mean, you represent people who can barely buy 2 pairs of shoes. And you're gonna go up there and give yourself the opportunity to make $105,000 in stipends. And by the way, everybody, they don't pay state tax.
Yeah, well, you know, here's the kicker. Where else in America can you get paid to not do the job you were elected to do, to violate the Constitution of the state that you were elected to represent in, and screw the people and lie to them and still make tons of money, and nobody votes you out because they're too stupid to realize that that's happening to them.
And get 3 trips to Portugal and send selfies back.
Yeah,
Talk about throwing salt in the wound.
that's right.
You know, like, why don't you send us a picture of every restaurant you're eating in on our dime?
Right, exactly. You know,
Well,
it's amazing. You know, it's almost as bad as turning around saying that Fall River is a culinary paradise. You know, because we have what, three meals in Fall River: Chinese, Portuguese, and hot dogs. There you go. There's your 3 meals.
Donuts. Don't forget the donuts.
Oh, yeah, well,
That's
the
right.
donuts are lousy.
We got to have the donuts. Otherwise, the cops have nothing to eat.
Oh,
Patrick, they're gonna get you in the parking lot.
That just cost me 2 parking tickets.
That's right.
You know, the funny thing is, it was in the paper the other day, they passed all these pay raises. Now the Senate president is saying the taxpayers may have to live with a tax increase next year. Of course, we got to pay for your tax, your raise. They'll give you $168,000.
yeah. Well, you know, Patrick, you're right. But I mean, see, this is this is what really disturbs me. It's like they have the audacity that, well, the taxpayers may have to live with a tax increase next year. Well, how about the Senate and the House living within their own means for a year or so?
You know, the funny part is that the voters of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts remind me a lot of Animal House. Keep slapping me. Can I have another, please? May I have another, please?
You know, this just get. You're right, though. They are talking about tax increases. A couple of things that are happening around the state today, which I think are funny, is now tell me this isn't like a real slap in the face too. There is a task force on integrity in state and local government. They're meeting with an agenda that includes discussion of private compensation for public employees acting as attorneys and the ethics laws around government contracts. That's in the State House in room A2.
You're going to tell me that people in the state government actually understand what ethics is?
No, they don't. We have an ethics commission that does nothing.
No finding. No finding here. No
Tell me
finding.
that's not a contradiction of terms. An integrity task force, which is all people from the House and the Senate. So, you know, and they're going to not let them work as attorneys in the private sector while they're elected offices? I don't think so. And then they're having a joint Democratic and GOP caucus. Well, you know, it's not really a caucus because guess what? The Dems outweigh the Republicans. That's going to be that's going to be held today in the Senate reading room. They actually can read?
Yeah, and the 6 Republicans, they'll be meeting in the station wagon outside.
Right, and then right after that at 1 o'clock, they're having a caucus with the expected topic being how to respond to the policies and pronouncements of Republican President Donald Trump. But this is interesting because the GOP was called out because they're searching for Republican candidates to replace Senator Elizabeth Warren. And polls are showing that as bad as Donald Trump is, he's still coming in ahead of Elizabeth Warren. You can read that article in the Boston Globe and in Politico. So, you know, I find this amazing that this stuff is just happening over and over and over again. And for some reason, we just cannot understand it. But the really good part about it, about yesterday, because as people remember, yesterday was Valentine's Day, the day that shall be forgotten for most people. Elizabeth Warren got a full adoration yesterday. She received $1,600 worth of pink roses, hydrangeas, freesia, and calla lilies from a psychoanalyst and her new crowdsourcing friends. I tell you.
Well, I thought it was from the Wampanoag Indians.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know, that's true. And of course, you know, the T has been engaging in an entirely different type of privatization for decades. For possibly more than 30 years, some managers at the MBT have enjoyed a perk that has been hidden for years. They take home unmarked cars that are owned by construction companies. It was discovered that the cost to taxpayers is almost impossible to determine because the vehicles have been buried in the overall price of multi-million-dollar projects. We're talking Ford Escapades, Toyota Highlanders, an F-150. MBTA General Manager Brian Shortsleeve, the contractor-owned vehicles are another example of trying to change decades of mismanagement at the agency. This isn't just this mismanagement. The IRS is going to be very interested because guess what? It's taxable.
Yeah, and you know that's the problem with these organizations. You know, people look at the presidency, they look at the mayor, but they don't look at the rest of the people. You know, let's face it, our senator, state senator, and state reps have flown under the radar. Nobody knows what they do. They head north to Boston and they live in this land that's like Never Land. You know, they tell you how they're walking around making laws and doing all this wonderful stuff. But when you look closely at what they've managed to do is they've managed to continue to spend money at such a breakneck pace that this state continually goes downhill. And cities like Fall River and New Bedford and Lowell and Lawrence suffer the most because these are places that have low incomes, low jobs, not a lot of businesses, but people don't know them. They show up, they run their time, they give people they give people a chow mein sandwich or a hot dog and that's it. And they tell great stories and show selfies of them wandering around Portugal. You know, why going to Portugal has any weight in your legislative decisions on what the state of Massachusetts is going to do, I have no idea. But I know it's probably a nice trip, especially when somebody else is paying for it.
Of course.
And, yeah, you know, but this is the thing. They fly under the radar. Nobody knows what they do. And then they continue to give themselves pay raises. But you know whose fault it is? We always get down to whose fault it is. It's our fault. It's the people. We the people. We allow them to do this because many years ago their pay raises had to come before the voters. Then we had the Halloween massacre where they had an 11th-hour session on Halloween, voted themselves a huge pay raise, and they wiped out half of it. And the remaining half and the new half said, oh, shit, we can't have this happen again, but we can't stop giving ourselves pay raises. So what are we going to do? They said, all right, we'll figure it out so we can give ourselves pay raises and the voters don't have to vote on it, and we can do anything we want. And they did. And what happened to them? Nothing.
They get reelected. That's what happened.
That's right. They got reelected, and here we are. $35,000 stipend. Well, guess what?
May I have another, please?
Yeah, exactly. And I think when that you talked about the guy getting a $35,000 bump, his base salary was 62.
60, yeah.
So that's a stipend that's more than 50% of his pay. My, that's what you call a hell of a stipend.
Hey, it's good to be the king.
It's great when you know, wouldn't labor unions like to be able to do that, walk in and say, well, we want $35,000 this year. Okay, now what was just said, we have to take 0, 2, and 2 because of the financial condition of the city.
Right.
Yet, the mayor's cronies get a $5,000 stipend.
That's because they need the gas to drive in from Marion and the other locations that they live.
You know,
and probably in city vehicles, because guess what? They all have city vehicles. Corporate counsel said we don't keep mileage logs. I'm sure the IRS is going to be interested in that one too.
Yeah, and you know, and our state delegation runs up to Boston, gives themselves these obscene pay raises.
Yep, and the per diem
and
for driving up.
And then still make sure they take their per
diem. That's right, and the per diem, because they get their per diem because they, you know, like I want maybe Patrick's on the show now. Maybe Patrick can help me. Do you know of any job in the world that actually says if you actually have to get in and drive to work, that will give you a per diem?
Well, the Fair Labor Standards Act says that from your residence to your place of business is free. If the business sends you from that location to another location, you're entitled to mileage.
Exactly.
So how they're able to pull this per diem is definitely beyond the Fair Labor Standards Act.
Exactly, and that's the key. The key is, but the other problem is with the Fair Labor Standards Act, Pat, you know this, is that, what did CJ just say? You actually have to keep records.
Yeah, the mileage. Yeah, absolutely. It's taxable income.
So, government never keeps any records. Through that, they might get screwed. We're not going to keep any records.
Yeah, CJ and I know all about the government not keeping records. We do too many open records requests, and we're finding them every single day.
Yep. And why? Because, again, it's always the same. It's always the same because you, the taxpayer, you, the voter, you, the people of the Commonwealth, you, the people of Fall River, here's the mantra, and I want you to remember this mantra during the election cycle in September and November. Remember this, because every one of the incumbents do this currently, because they sing this song. Screw you, taxpayer! They sing that song over and over and over again.
I'm not voting for anybody who doesn't give me a chow mein sandwich.
Yeah, that's basically what Fall River has become. And, you know...
Well, that means you're voting for everybody.
Yeah, that's right. You know, but that's what this has become. And then you have candidates who are running saying, when you present them with information, and they want to enter into the conversation, and they want to basically debate you on it, and then their response is, show me the evidence. Show me the proof. I don't got to show you anything.
All I can tell you is...
You've got to do your own research. That's your job when you're an elected official. But, you know, we have a current group of elected officials. There are 9 amazing nitwits. You have a bunch over in the school committee, and then you have one on the 6th floor who are all like, show me the evidence. It's not my job to show you the evidence. It's your job to get it. It's your job to research it. You've got a special research person on the 6th floor. He gets paid $5,000 to do somebody else's job. But that person's still getting their money.
You know, the funny thing is, I saw on Facebook last night that Dr. Malone is having a meet and greet. Guess when the meet and greet is, CJ?
When?
It's March 7th at 6 o'clock. So we know the superintendent of schools won't be attending the open meeting law training, and probably half of the school committee. But I'll tell you right now, any public body in Fall River that does not attend the open meeting law training on March 6th from 6 to 7:30 at Government Center, March 7th rather, I'll tell you very honestly, there will be no mercy. If you're not there and you violate, you will get an open meeting law complaint before your meeting is off Channel 18. I guarantee it.
And you heard it here first on Spindle City Straight Talk.
And of course, you know, look at the $20,000 transfer from the last meeting. We killed that at 9 o'clock in the morning the next day, dead.
I know. Well, you know.
Well, who cares about laws? We know that. This is the risk.
The laws, you have to understand, Chip, that the laws are made for the peasants.
That's right. Yeah.
And we be the peasants.
You know, those people
because they are the elected monarchy.
When I look down from my apartment down to the 14th floor, I get to see the peasants.
Hey,
well,
nice being back, guys.
That's nice to have you back, Chip. And that's Spindle City Straight Talk for today.
And don't forget, we'll have Chip on video Friday.
On Friday, one way or the other. Hey, stay angry. Have a great day.